Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cougar Dash. I am your solo host today, Ryan Root from Cougar Dash, and we got some basketball stuff to talk about on the men and women's side. Some good news for the women, obviously getting that bid in the NCAA tournament, but some bad news on the men's side a little bit, and that's what we're going to talk about first. With the men's basketball recent transfer portal news, we have Aliaz Kuntz, Brandon Chatfield, and Miles Fitzgerald-Warren all entering the transfer portal. Now, this obviously isn't very great news for WSU basketball as a whole, but we'll kind of go through these three different players. But we'll start with Kuntz. Obviously, Kuntz had a huge breakout year this year, kind of playing that six-man, 3/4 position behind Yakimovsky, behind DJ Rodman. They were kind of interchanging and whatnot, but after a breakout year from Kuntz, we now see him enter the transfer portal, which I'll be honest, I'm surprised and also kind of not about this choice from him. A few reasons. I mean, you gotta want to play if you're going to be in a Division I basketball program, right? And I think Kuntz can find some solid playing time in a different program. Don't get me wrong. If he can go to a different Division I program, he could probably start. But since this season didn't really count for anyone, it was the redshirt / COVID season. Kuntz gets to see what his options are in that transfer portal, and I think he'll probably find a few offers here or there. I don't think he'll go to a huge program, so to speak, because I think this decision is mainly based off of playing time. I am, although a little bit surprised at this move, because if playing time is so important, which is fine. I'm just surprised that he would want to leave a school that he has been so loyal to for a couple of years. But all the best luck to him. He's a great player. He's a great motivator on the bench and on the court with his teammates. So I look forward to seeing where he ends up. Like I said, I think he can end up in another Division I program, maybe another Power 5 program. But we'll kind of see in that regard. And next we have Brandon Chatfield. This one, kind of the same deal. Surprises me, but also doesn't. Chatfield out of Clarkston, Washington, is 6'10" athletic big man who barely got some playing time this year after having a redshirt season last year. But the reason that this kind of surprises me is that this was kind of a developmental project for Coach Smith. He had said he wanted that redshirt season last year for him so he could so he can kind of develop them. I mean, I had heard since day one of covering this team under Coach Smith that Chatfield's just got some athleticism. He's got some jump out of the gym athleticism, kind of like, Zion on a fast break type of athleticism. And it's unfortunate to see him go into the transfer portal because, like I said, this was kind of a, redshirt COVID season. So it was just kind of testing him out to see where you would see what would happen. Kuntz, the news dropped out that he was going to be in the portal first. So whether they made that decision at around the same time, Chatfield and Kuntz, Chatfield was bound to get more playing time after, Kuntz enters the portal. But he probably has the similar intentions alongside Kuntz with playing time. I mean, he's a redshirt freshman. This year didn't count, so he's still got, I believe he's still got 4 years, 5 years of eligibility, or 4 years of eligibility. He could probably go to be honest, I can picture him going to a smaller school, perhaps JUCO, D2. Not necessarily a knock on the guy, but if he's going to get play time and get himself on people's radars, going to a smaller school isn't that big of a knock if you ask me. But Chatfield, again, surprising, but also not to see him in the transfer portal. And then we got Miles Fitzgerald-Warren. This one doesn't really surprise me. He was kind of a transfer this year to put some depth in that backcourt. And even when Bonton and Williams had some injury problems, Noah kind of fought through them, and Bonton was out for the last few weeks before the Pac-12 tournament. But Miles Warren entering the transfer portal doesn't really surprise me. I'm sure he wants to get playing time somewhere else, similar to the previous two. But you're not going to get it when you're playing behind Bonton and Williams. And it's unfortunate to see, and hopefully he can get to a program where he can play a little bit more. But I want to say that the Miles Fitzgerald-Warren transfer is arguably the most interesting. And feel free to drop down in the chat what you think about these transfers, if you like them, if you hate them. But The Miles Fitzgerald-Warren transfer interests me the most because now more eyes are turned towards Isaac Bonton. Now, I've said my prediction in previous episodes that I would be shocked if Bonton decided to declare for the draft, go play pro overseas or this or that. If he exits college basketball this offseason, I will be shocked. After the first winning season in almost 10 years for WSU basketball, and having a first Pac-12 tournament win last season, and I don't know how many of the previous years where they hadn't even won the first round. Now more of the attention goes to Bonton, where he did not explicitly state that he was leaving the team in his Instagram post that he made, saying, thankful to be a Coug. There's more I want to do, this or that. Never explicitly said that he's leaving the program. So now with this in mind, I'm kind of doubling down on my prediction. I say he doesn't leave, and him and Noah will have another season together, and they'll be able to tackle the Pac-12 yet again next season, and obviously get some more wins on the board for WSU. They lose a little bit of depth with these transfer portal guys, and even a little bit of starter strength, if you will, from Kuntz. But now that Bonton doesn't have that backup point guard in Fitzgerald-Warren, I'm kind of looking towards him now. I know Jefferson Coulibaly was out for the season with an arm injury, can kind of fill out that backcourt depth and whatnot. And if Bonton leaves, which I said, I'd be surprised if he did, Coulibaly you could see kind of step into that position, or Noah Williams, or even Ryan Rapp, of course. But that one's the most interesting to me because Bonton, it would absolutely shock me if he wants to leave a winning program like this. In the past two seasons. I mean, going 500 last year and going 14-13, I want to say this year, right? So that's the most interesting to me. But I hope we don't see any more players go in the transfer portal, to be honest, because I don't think any of the players really need to. I mean, same thing with, like I said, it kind of surprised me with Chatfield's part, but like, is Ryan Rapp going to enter the portal? I don't think so. Is DJ Rodman going to enter the portal? Probably not. Is Markovetsky going to enter the portal? Probably not. And none of the starters, I don't think, either. So this is probably the last bit of people that you'll see will enter the portal. Last year, I believe there was only, if I'm remembering correctly, I know Jervae Robinson was a senior. I want to say, what's his face? Deron Henson, I think, transferred or whatnot. But I don't remember this team having a lot of transfers last season. So this season, maybe there's a little bit of a disagreement among these three with the coaching staff, even though it doesn't seem like anyone has publicly said that the coaching staff has had issues with any of the players. Everyone seems to love Coach Smith, Coach Phelps, and Coach Shaw. But, it shocks me. It probably the one transfer that shocks me the most, I guess I'll say Kuntz. But like I said, with him and Chatfield, it doesn't entirely shock me that he entered the portal, but that one most of all was like, really? It's really unfortunate to see that Kuntz wants to play somewhere else, but I can't blame the guy if he could play 30 some odd minutes for a D1 program somewhere else in the country, and he's still got 2 years of eligibility. We'll see if maybe he can go overseas or something like that after he's done with his collegiate career. But it certainly sucks to see these guys go. Probably the one that I am most, I guess you could say, heartbroken about being transferred. I'll use Chatfield in this instance because, Chatfield was kind of this developmental project of, if we could keep him healthy and keep him moving, he could be an eventual backup, if not starting big man for the Cougs with his athleticism. But after a year of FA and Deshaun dominating those two positions, and Markovetsky, kind of being that backup big man just for his size at 7'1", I can kind of see the frustration on Chatfield's part in terms of can I really not get some of these backup minutes and whatnot? But I know WSU kind of likes to play a little small at that 4 spot. They kind of put Rodman there sometimes, Kuntz, but that one kind of hurts a little bit more to see Chatfield go. Fitzgerald-Warren, wherever he can get playing time, all power to him. It just didn't seem like it was going to be a great fit with Bonton and Williams playing as good as they do at the point guard and shooting guard spot. and Ryan Rapp kind of backing those guys up. But you know, I hope we don't see any more transfer players and whatnot. But these three, it's gonna suck to see them go, but gotta make some room for some extra freshmen to come in next year, right? So I'm actually gonna take a sip of water because I have the solo show today, so I can actually take a quick 5-second break. Gotta stay hydrated. But we can go on to a little bit of a more positive topic and talk a little bit about the freshmen from men's basketball and see how they fared at the end of the season. We're gonna start giving out some grades to the freshmen. I mean, WCU had a top 50. I want to say they were 30s, in the high 30s or low 40s in the nation for the recruiting class, which was, leaps and bounds ahead of the previous recruiting class. But there's a lot of freshmen that was in this rotation this year, obviously. So we're going to kind of break down how each of the freshmen did, and I'll kind of hand out some grades. So I might as well get the one of the most obvious ones out of the way real quick, and feel free to put in the chat your guys' grades on the freshmen of what you think. I will say right out the bat, we can say Jefferson Coulibaly is kind of a non-applicable, as he was out for the entire season with that arm injury. A lot more eyes are going to be turned towards him this next season since Fitzgerald Warren's now gone, so he's going to have to kind of fill that guard position a little bit more alongside Rapp, and depending on if Monton stays or not. But we'll give Jefferson Coulibaly a N/A for this report card. But we'll start off with a lot of people's favorite freshman this year, of course. We'll start off with F.A. Now, F.A., I think it's fair to say, was, one of the most exciting players to watch in the Pac-12, I'll say. I would argue, having that sort of, he's got like a 40-inch vertical, high 30-inch vertical at 6'10" or 6'11" as a center. The guy's absolutely nuts to watch run down that court and block shots and get those dunks off. I will be the first one to say that. Don't get me wrong. But F.A., I will give an A- to. I won't give. I am incorporating the pluses and minuses as well. So we'll do the A, B, C, D, F, but I get to throw the pluses and minuses where I find fitting. But F.A. Abogidi, I will give an A-. Like I said, he had some great high points this season in the non-conference schedule. Had some big games, double doubles, highlight blocks. We go into conference play. Kind of took a little bit of a dip. They were kind of taking advantage of his frame a little bit. He can have length and he can have bounce, but if you don't have density or muscle to your frame that can push around some of these Pac-12 big men, unless you're Evan Mobley, where you can kind of just run around that court and do whatever you want. But F.A. got taken advantage of a little bit in conference play. That three ball that, shocked so many people in non-conference play of, this guy can jump, he can, rebound, he can block, he can dunk, he can do all this stuff, and he can shoot the three. Well, he can shoot the three, not consistently. He went, 21, 22 straight 3-point attempts without making one, and then finally made a 3-point attempt, I want to say in the Stanford game, I believe, where Noah Williams went off with his huge scoring performance. But F.A.'s got a little bit of decision-making knocks that I can kind of put on him. His decisions on offense are a little questionable on some offensive rebound stuff. If he, when he gets the ball underneath the basket, is he going to go up for a dunk? Is he going to try to get some contact for a and one finish with a layup? This or that, Some of his decision-making on second chance points are a little questionable. Some of his decision-making defending layups down low are a little questionable, because I think he's always kind of he's always kind of going for a block. He's never really going for a contest most of the times, which we're kind of picking at needless details at that point. But he's always kind of going for that big block, big play. And that'll change. He's a freshman. He's got a lot of athleticism to him, so that'll change. But A- though, everything else kind of outweighed all the negatives. his athleticism, his rebound, his defense was obviously great. So hopefully we'll get to see him do bigger and greater things for the rest of his collegiate career. But we'll go on to Deshaun Jackson, who I personally believe was the best freshman out of this entire class this year. Deshaun Jackson, who was a 4-star recruit out of Vallejo, California, kind of played that power forward / center starting position for the Cougars. I give him an A+. I'll be honest. I mean, his low post IQ is superb, and something that WSU hasn't really seen these past couple of years. I mean, no one was really looking at Jeff Pollard as the next low post guy, right? No one was looking at Mark Vetsky for that low post presence. I hope they weren't, at least. But Deshaun Jackson, A+. I mean, there's not many knocks I can say on the guy. He had some very, very good games, and 2 of those great games were against USC, against Evan Mobley, who might be a top 3, top 5 pick in the draft. He may go number 1 for all I know. Evan Mobley, as extremely talented and versatile that he is, to have some of your best games in your freshman year against Evan Mobley, I think should not go unnoticed. Like I said, his low post IQ is great. His defense is great as well. He's got that frame that can, defend against those low post guys. I mean, against De Silva when they played Stanford, against Mobley, against Evan Batty in Colorado. So he's got that frame that really helps out on that low post defense that FA can't really provide. And he's kind of developing a little bit of an outside shot with he kind of threw up some mid ranges later in the season. I'd love to see if he could potentially get a 3-ball in there, but that's not really required, I'll say. But he gets an A+ in my book. I mean, he kind of went under a lot of people's radars considering he wasn't a starter day 1 like FA. But I would certainly sit here and say that he was the best freshman for the team this year. I can't wait to see where else he's going to go. I loved writing my feature on him for the WSU student newspaper. He's got a tremendous work ethic, a tremendous way of looking at the game. It's going to be interesting to see how he turns out. But we can go on to TJ Bamba. TJ Bamba was kind of playing that backup 2-guard spot this season behind Noah Williams, behind Bonton and whatnot. Started a couple of games when the backcourt was kind of thin for the Cougs, but I gave him a B. No B-, no B+. I give him a B. I think his athleticism is something that certainly sets him apart on this team, at least. I was kind of predicting earlier on in the season that he was going to be an underrated 3-point shooter. He kind of is. So I don't know what his 3-point shooting percentages were this season, but they're relatively, average for a freshman backup 2-guard. So I give TJ Bamba credit in that regards. I know, defensively he can be a little shaky at times, defending on that perimeter against some Pac-12 guards. That kind of comes with experience, but had some breakout games. I think he had 1 game where he led the team in scoring. He had that very good performance against Arizona State, I want to say, where he kind of lifted the team up off the bench and really kind of provided for the team that way. But nothing too much to say about Bamba. I mean, there were times where he was healthy and didn't play in a game. There were times where I think the only times that he actually missed a game was his toothache issue that he had in the latter half of the season. But alongside, we'll talk about him in a little bit, alongside Yakimovsky, Smith has said that Bamba and Yakimovsky have about the best work ethics as far as the freshmen go on this team. Both of them seem to always be in the gym, always working, always doing this, always doing that. I think TJ Bamba's scoring's a little one-dimensional right now. He's kind of a spot-up 3 or a catch-and-shoot 3 shooter, a catch-and-shoot 3-point shooter. It kind of drives the lane a lot. If he could expand that offensive game a little bit, he'd be a way more impactful player for sure. But I give him a B for this season. Why not? He's doing great. We'll see where he goes. We got Carlos Rosario, who we barely really saw, and I'll kind of talk about that. But in terms of a grade, I'll give him a C-. Right? He didn't play awful, I guess I'll say, but he really just came in for garbage minutes and played, so, like if WSU was in some late foul trouble, like I know they were in foul trouble against Arizona in January when they played them at home, and they were in foul trouble against I want to say Stanford one of these times that Rosario kind of filled in right there. But I give him a C minus. The guy's, I mean, he's bound to do big things eventually in terms of his frame and his what his body's looking like right now. I think that's kind of the biggest knock on him right now is he just doesn't got a lot of muscle on him. He's a real skinny dude. He's I think I want to say like 6'7" with a huge wingspan. He's got good athleticism as does Bamba and Fa, but didn't really get to play a lot. And that's kind of the biggest knock I got on him in terms. I mean, I don't know if that's really blaming him or kind of just how the rotation was working, but we're bound to see him have bigger games in these following seasons. Thankfully, he didn't enter the transfer portal. I think he still has at least a year or two to kind of feel things out and see how he fits in. But I believe he's another 4-star recruit, or borderline 4-star recruit that WSU got out of California, and we'll kind of see where his season goes. But lastly, we'll talk about Andre Yakimovsky, who is one of WSU's biggest recruits in program history. I think he was like ranked 3rd or 4th according to 24/7 Sports, with Klay Thompson, of course, being number 1. But Yakimovsky, I will give him a B as well, alongside Bamba there. Yakimovsky had a decent start to the season. He was averaging, I want to say, a little over 10 points in his first 8 games. Had some starter minutes in there, and he looked like he was playing like a good sharpshooting forward. Next 8 games, however, were a struggle. I mean, he averaged like a little over 2 points a game in the next 8 games, and in the 9th and 10th game of that string, he's out with a groin injury. So it was unfortunate to see him have that streak of poor performances. Him being such a good 3-point shooter out of North Macedonia, you'd love to see the guy try to make some more threes, and it just didn't work out for a little bit. And then the Cal-Stanford week comes up, where against Cal in the 31-point victory that they had, he puts up damn near a triple-double with 11 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds, I want to say. And then against Stanford, who he actually had his season or his career high, I'll say, as a Cougar, he actually had his career high against Stanford in the first matchup. And then the second matchup, I think all WSU fans will say, that Stanford game that went to 2 overtimes behind Noah Williams. I mean, what a thrilling game. Probably the game of the year for WSU. But he had those 2 games that were fantastic. And he kind of dipped down a little bit to end the season. If he would have been playing like he was towards the beginning of the season, I mean, he'd probably be in that A range. He would probably be averaging around 9-10 points a game as that starting 3 or 4 spot, But it's unfortunate to see that string of poor performances. I will say, I'm going to plug my own article here for the student newspaper, but I just did a feature on Andre Yakimovsky talking about his string of poor performances and how he kind of climbed back on top against Cal and Stanford. But give that a read. The guy's a really humble dude. He's a real big gym rat alongside TJ Bamba, kind of like I said. After some WSU games, some WSU home games, that is, when I was there covering the game, he would go back out onto the court and get some extra shots up. I mean, win or loss. So he's always trying to work. He's always trying to do this, always trying to do that. I'm definitely excited to see where he goes. I think out of all of these guys, except for maybe, probably Abogidi, Deshaun Jackson, and Andre, I think have the biggest potentials to be pro after their WSU careers or their collegiate careers. And I can't wait to see where Yakimovsky goes. But enough men's basketball. We can finish up and talk about the women's basketball's recent triumph of getting a NCAA tournament bid. This is huge for WSU women's basketball, as I'll be the first to say at the beginning of this season. I mean, based off of last year, WSU women's basketball was not something that people were really taking seriously. I'll say. I mean, the finishing towards the bottom of the conference last year, I want to say, and going into this year, don't have Bobby buckets anymore. Don't have. I believe it's Cheryl Molina. I want to say one of the Molina sisters. Not having either of those two to begin this season. I mean, no one was really looking at women's basketball thinking that they were going to have as good of a year that they did, but they did. And they're now playing South Florida on Sunday at 6:30, I want to say, on ESPN2. So definitely tune in and give some Cougar pride over to the women over in Austin playing that first round against South Florida. But this is huge. This is absolutely huge. It's kind of reminiscent of last year with the women's soccer team getting to the Final Four. I mean, the fact that WSU has all of these, kind of secondary sports behind football that are, making these huge leaps. I give all credit to Pat Chun being able to organize all of these sports, especially these female sports that are just killing it. I mean, volleyball, women's basketball, it's going great. But how are they going to fare against South Florida? Well, I will be the one to say I'm not a huge expert on NCAA women's basketball, but in terms of some preliminary stats, one that sticks out to me for South Florida, they can rebound the ball pretty well. They're 10th in the country in rebounds per game. They grab around 44 boards a game. They're top 50 in assists per game, 37th in assist turnover ratio, and they finished at the top of their conference in the AAC. I want to say they are I want to say they were 19th in the AP poll. They finished the year 18-3, with 3 of those losses coming against NCAA tournament teams such as Baylor, which is probably one of the favorites to win the whole deal, and Houston and UCF. So they're not facing no chump opponent here. And you look on Washington State's side, of course, they're led by the great Charlize Leisure Walker. And in terms of some stats that kind of stand out in this matchup, they don't have any top 50, nation ranked stats that really jump out. But of course, Charlize, the true freshman phenom, is going to be she's going to have a lot of eyes on her on Sunday. I'll say that much. But that's really the biggest thing. I mean, having a bid in the NCAA tournament is great. It's huge for the program. Like I said, no one was really expecting it at the beginning of this season, but it's kind of do your best, but obviously shoot for a win. To have an NCAA tournament win on top of this would be superb, but you're going to have a big game from Charlize, obviously, and see if she can lift her team to victory. South Florida is a little bit more team oriented. I want to say they have like 3 players that average double-digit points, as opposed to WSU that has 2 players. South Florida's got 3 players that average double-digit points, and 1 player that's averaging 9.9 points per game. So a little bit more team-oriented in South Florida. Like I said, great rebounding team. All the eyes are going to be on Charlize Leisure Walker, and if I remember correctly, they're starting center Mirakete. She's obviously going to have a big game for the team. She co-leads the team in rebounds alongside Mantuga. I hope that's how you pronounce her last name. They're both going to have their hands full against this South Florida team in terms of their rebounding talent. I'm going to be rooting for them hard. This kind of reminds me of soccer last year with going to the College Cup. This is huge for the program, whether win or lose. But the fact that they're getting some national recognition. And they had a bit of an early exit in the Pac-12 tournament, which is okay. It's not too much of a heartbreaker, but the fact that Cammie Etheridge has turned this program around in the way that she has is superb, and I can't wait to watch this game. They stand a chance, just because I am a Coug. I will say they win this game. Like I said, I'm not the hugest expert on women's basketball, but I'm rooting for them to get at least one win. Of course, I want them to win the national championship. Why not? But it's gonna be a great game. It's gonna be a big moment for Coug sports, where Coug sports has been kind of suffering lately with football's shenanigans, men's basketball's kind of disappointments towards the end of the year, and pretty much just COVID. But the fact that they get to have this national recognition, the fact that they actually get to go out there and play in the NCAA tournament is fantastic. But unfortunately, it is 1:30, so now it is time to wrap up the show. I thank you for tuning in on my solo show here. It takes a lot of talking, a lot of rambling about some WSU sports, but hopefully you followed along all right. But thank you for watching once again. You can find our written content exclusively on sportspac12.com, and you can follow them on Twitter at sportspac12. You can find links to that written content on our website, dashsports.tv, and make sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at DashSportsTV. Lastly, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dash Sports, where you can find all of our shows and clips. I will plug one more time. I just finished up a feature article on Andrei Yakimovsky from the men's basketball team. Be sure to give that a read. Really tremendous interview. Everyone seems to absolutely rave about Andrei. So he's glad to be a Coug, and hopefully that article kind of shows you that. But give that a read. Roots the women's basketball team this Sunday against South Florida. Hopefully they can represent this university in a great way, and hopefully they pull out with a win. But thank you for tuning in. You can tune in at the same time next week at 1 p.m. And as always, go Cougs.